My bride ditched me at the altar 5 minutes before the wedding. She texted, "Can't marry you. You're too average for me. I'm too young to settle for this life." I announced her words to everyone and turned our $60,000 wedding into a dodged a bullet party. 2 days later, after her sugar daddy dumped her at a gas station, she begged for another chance. Hey everyone, before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now, let's start the video. Hey Reddit, sitting here watching the waves crash on the beach. Figured I might as well type out this whole messed up situation. Maybe it'll help someone else spot the red flags I missed. It's taken me 4 months to process everything enough to write it all down. But here goes. So me, 28, male, and Brittany, 25, had been together for almost 4 years. Classic case of opposites attract. I guess she was the wild one, always suggesting crazy stuff like, "Let's drive to Vegas right now," or "We should quit our jobs and backpack through Europe." Meanwhile, I'm over here grinding away in civil engineering, working 50 to 60-hour weeks, trying to build something solid for our future. That was our dynamic. She brought the excitement, and I brought the stability. And for a while it worked. She'd tell me how much she loved that I was dependable, how secure she felt with me, called me her rock, all that stuff. For the first 2 years after we met, things were great, balanced, She'd push me to try new things. Yeah, take spontaneous weekend trips, go to concerts for bands I'd never heard of. I'd make sure we had a safety net, a plan, a way home if things went sideways. We complemented each other. We moved in together after a year and a half. Got a decent apartment in the city. Nothing fancy, but it had this small balcony where we'd sit with coffee on weekend mornings, planning our future. Kids, house in the suburbs, the whole dream. I started putting away money for a ring. I proposed after 3 years, and we set the date for the following year. Plenty of time to plan the perfect day, right? But the last few months before the wedding, man, things got weird in ways I didn't want to admit to myself at the time. Looking back, I can spot exactly when things started to shift. Brittany got really into Instagram about 6 months before the wedding, like really into it. Suddenly, our normal weekend plans weren't aesthetic enough. Every restaurant had to be photographable. Every activity had to look good as a story post. It wasn't just innocent social media use either. She'd spend hours meticulously editing photos, researching hashtags, and obsessing over her follower count. Our dinner conversations became monologues about her growing brand and how she was just a few viral posts away from being approached by sponsors. Besides, she started picking fights about money constantly. Not about not having enough, we were doing fine, but about how we deserved more. How other couples were living these amazing lives while we were just being boring adults. She'd scroll Instagram showing me these couples on their 5th vacation of the year, living in massive houses. "Why can't we have that?" she'd ask. "Look at Jessica and Mike. They just bought that house in the hills, and they're going to Bali next month." Meanwhile, I'm the only one with a real job, while she worked this part-time marketing gig that was somehow too draining at 9 to 3, 3 days a week. I never wanted to point this out directly because it felt like a jerk move, but the math wasn't mathing. We'll get there. I'd tell her, "I'm working on that promotion. We're saving for a down payment, but it takes time to build something real." She'd roll her eyes. "You're so practical. Don't you ever just want to take a risk? Live a little?" The thing is, I thought I was taking risks. Committing to forever with someone, that's the biggest risk of all. Putting deposits down on venues, investing thousands in a wedding, merging our finances. Those felt like pretty big life moves to me. I still remember this joke she made 2 months before the wedding. That didn't feel like a joke. "You know what would be the perfect wedding gift? A Tesla. We're about to be a power couple, right?" She laughed. I laughed. But something about it felt off. Then came the bridal registry thing. I nearly had a heart attack when I saw what she'd put on there. A $900 blender, $500 sheet sets, a $1,200 espresso machine. When I gently suggested maybe we tone it down a bit, she went off about how we needed to start our marriage the right way and how these were investments in our future. Yeah, because nobody's marriage ever failed due to insufficiently expensive sheets. Right? A month before the wedding, she started getting weirdly secretive with her phone, would take calls in another room, texting at odd hours. When I asked, she'd say it was wedding surprises or bridesmaid drama. There was this night about 3 weeks before the wedding when she came home late from what was supposed to be a final dress fitting. Her makeup was done differently than usual, and she seemed buzzy, energetic. "How'd the dress fitting go?" I asked. "Great. Perfect," she said, not quite meeting my eyes. "I'm just going to take a shower." I found a receipt in her purse when I moved it off the couch. Not from the bridal shop, but from some upscale restaurant downtown I'd never heard of. The timestamp was right in the middle of when she was supposedly at her fitting. I should have confronted her then and there. But what was I going to say? That I snooped through her purse? That I didn't trust her 3 weeks before our wedding? So I swallowed it, told myself it was pre-wedding jitters, maybe a surprise for me, whatever. The next day, I noticed she'd changed her Instagram profile photo to one I didn't take, some professional-looking shot where she was laughing, looking over her shoulder. When I asked about it, she just said, "Oh, Casey took it when we were out shopping." Casey, her sister, who suddenly seemed to be giving me these knowing looks whenever we were in the same room. I started noticing other things too. New clothes appearing in her closet that I'd never seen her wear. A different perfume on her dressing table. Receipts for Ubers to places she'd never mentioned going. But every time I tried to bring up these inconsistencies, she'd deflect. "You're just stressed about the wedding. Why are you keeping tabs on me? Don't you trust me?" Classic gaslighting. Looking back on it, there was this particularly weird moment about 10 days before the wedding. We were at this dinner with both our parents going over final arrangements. My folks were picking up about 70% of the tab, with her parents covering the rest. Her dad kept making these weird comments about my job prospects, my 5-year plan, what my retirement package looked like. Almost like he was sizing me up as an investment rather than welcoming me to the family. After dinner, in the car ride home, Brittany kept talking about how her friend's husband had just surprised her with a Range Rover for their anniversary. "Isn't that romantic?" She sighed. "He really knows how to treat her, right?" I remember gripping the steering wheel a little tighter. "I think romance is bigger than material gifts," I said. "It's about being there for each other through thick and thin." She just stared out the window. "Yeah, but a Range Rover doesn't hurt." Should have known then what I was dealing with. But love makes you stupid, I guess. Fast forward to wedding day. I wake up early feeling excited despite the weird tension of the last few months. This was it, the start of our life together. All that other stuff would fade away once we were actually married. That's what I told myself anyway. I text her around 8 a.m. "Good morning, love. Can't wait to see you walk down the aisle." No reply. I figured she was busy with hair, makeup, whatever. But then an hour passes. 2 hours. I call straight to voicemail. Call again. Nothing. That's when I started getting that sick feeling in my gut. Something was wrong. I tried her bridesmaid's number. No answer there either. Weird. By 11 a.m., I'm seriously freaking out. I called her mom. Go straight to voicemail. Call her sister. No answer. It's like they've all vanished. My best man, Matt, is trying to keep me calm. "Dude, you know how chaotic these things get. Their hair and makeup probably started late. They're all rushing around, phones on silent, but I couldn't shake this feeling. Something's off." I head to the venue early. Ceremony was scheduled for 2 p.m. Find her parents there looking weirdly chill. Too chill. I asked if they've seen Brittany. Her mom gives me this fake as anything smile and goes, "Oh, she's just overwhelmed. You know how brides get." But she won't make eye contact. Her dad barely looked at me, just muttered something about cold feet, and walked away. That's when I noticed them whispering to each other. They keep checking their phones. Something was definitely up. I overheard her mom saying she hasn't texted back yet. What if she, before they notice me, and suddenly stop talking? I walk outside, call her best friend. "Hey, have you heard from Brittany? I can't reach her. She sounded off. Not since last night." "Have you checked with her parents?" The way she says it, she knows something. My chest tightened as I hung up and made a beeline for the bridal suite. If she was anywhere, it'd be there. I knocked. Nothing. Tried again, louder. "Brittany, Still nothing. The door was locked. A staff member nearby said no one had gone in or out since morning. I stood there hoping she'd appear. She didn't. I went back inside. The wedding coordinator was asking me timeline questions. The florist wants to know where to set things up. The photographers are arriving and still no sign of my bride. By 1:30 p.m., guests are arriving. My family is all there looking concerned. Brittany's extended family is trickling in, casting curious glances around. 1:45 p.m. My groomsmen are all suited up. The bridesmaids are nowhere to be seen. 1:50 p.m. I'm standing just off to the side of the altar area, my heart racing. The officiant keeps giving me these sympathetic looks. The string quartet is playing softly, but it sounds like static in my ears. That's when the real fight started inside me. What the hell should I do? Go looking for her? Do I stall the ceremony? Do I pretend nothing's wrong and hope she walks in like this is all some twisted bridal prank? Part of me wanted to believe it was nerves, that she was freaking out somewhere, but would come around. Another part, the louder part, kept flashing back to the weird looks, the late nights, the sudden silences, 5 minutes before the ceremony is supposed to start. Still no word. Matt was standing next to me, checking his watch, looking increasingly worried. I kept calling her. No answer. And then my phone buzzed in my hand. It's Brittany, finally. My hands were literally shaking as I opened the message, thinking maybe she's running late or having a moment of anxiety or whatever. The message reads exactly, "I'm sorry, Adam. I tried, but I can't marry you. You're too average and predictable for someone like me. I need more excitement and passion than you can provide. Also, I'm too young to settle for this life. I hope someday you understand. Please don't hate me." I literally just stared at the screen, reading it over and over. Rejected. 5 minutes before we were supposed to get married via text. Matt saw my face and came over. "Adam, you okay, man? Time to go." I just handed him my phone. His jaw dropped. No way. Something weird happened in that moment. It's like my brain just shifted. The hurt was there, massive, like a boulder in my gut. But on the surface, I went ice cold. I found the officiant, this kind older guy who was looking confused about the delay. Slight change of plans, I told him, my voice weirdly steady. Then I walked out alone to where we were supposed to stand together. All the guests started giving me these confused looks. The whispers started. I grabbed the mic, took a deep breath, and just went for it. "Welcome, everyone," I said. The room went dead silent. There's been a development. About 5 minutes ago, I received a text message from Brittany. I looked around at all the faces, my family, her family, our friends, everyone just staring at me. It said, and I quote, "I'm sorry, I can't marry you. You're too average and predictable for someone like me. I need more excitement and passion than you can provide. Also, I'm too young to settle for this life. I hope someday you understand. Please don't hate me." I literally just stared at the screen, reading it over and over. Rejected. 5 minutes before we were supposed to get married via text. Matt saw my face and came over. "Adam, you okay, man? Time to go." I just handed him my phone. His jaw dropped. No way. Something weird happened in that moment. It's like my brain just shifted. The hurt was there, massive, like a boulder in my gut. But on the surface, I went ice cold. I found the officiant, this kind older guy who was looking confused about the delay. Slight change of plans, I told him, my voice weirdly steady. Then I walked out alone to where we were supposed to stand together. All the guests started giving me these confused looks. The whispers started. I grabbed the mic, took a deep breath, and just went for it. "Welcome, everyone," I said. The room went dead silent. There's been a development. About 5 minutes ago, I received a text message from Brittany. I looked around at all the faces, my family, her family, our friends, everyone just staring at me. It said, and I quote, "I'm sorry, I can't marry you." The gasps were so loud you could have heard a pin drop after. Someone from her side actually cried out. My mom looked like she was going to pass out. Matt looked at me dead in the eye and nodded. "You owe it to yourself not to hide this," he whispered. He was right. I continued, keeping my voice even. "It appears there will be no wedding today. Brittany has made her choice." I let that sink in for a second. However, I said, raising my voice a bit, "Everything is paid for. The food is ready, and the band is here. So tonight isn't a wedding reception. It's a celebration of honesty, even when it's brutal, a celebration of dodging a bullet, and a celebration of support from friends and family. I raised my water glass. Didn't trust myself with anything stronger at that point. So please eat. Enjoy yourselves. Let's have a party anyway. The next few hours were straight up surreal. About 40% of the guests left, mostly Brittany's family and friends. Her parents and sister Casey practically ran out the door, but the rest stayed. My dad grabbed me in a hug that nearly cracked my ribs. Her loss, son, he whispered. Huge loss. The party was weird at first. Nobody really knew how to act. The first 20 minutes or so were just people coming up to me with these pitying looks, offering awkward condolences like someone had died. I'm so sorry. What a horrible thing to do. You're better off without her. I just nodded, thanked them for coming, tried to redirect. Have you tried the canopies? Chef said they're his specialty. But after a while, something shifted. Matt and my college buddies surrounded me like a personal hype squad, joking, teasing, pulling me into their energy. One of them yelled, "Well, we're all dressed up. Might as well party like she lost the better man." And that cracked the tension wide open. Someone hijacked the playlist. The band got the memo. And next thing I knew, people were actually dancing. Drinks were flowing, canopies were disappearing, and the room stopped feeling like a funeral. My cousin Jenny clinked Ketter glass and stood up. To Adam, who just showed us all what real class looks like in an impossible situation. It turned into this bizarre but kind of therapeutic you're better off celebration. My Aunt Linda, who'd had a rough divorce herself, came up to me during a quiet moment. You know, she said, I spent years trying to make it work with someone who was never going to appreciate me. You just skipped all that heartache in one day. It hurts like hell now, but trust me, you're going to look back and realize this was a gift. Meanwhile, I'm still trying to wrap my head around the $60,000 plus that just went down the drain. Venue, catering for 150, flowers, suits, the non-refundable honeymoon package to the Maldays gone. Most of it from me and my parents, since Brittany always had bill issues or whatever. Around 9 p.m., I managed to slip away for a few minutes, went into this little coat room off the main hall, and just sat there in the dark trying to breathe. It hit me all at once. The humiliation, the betrayal, the sheer disbelief that this was actually happening to me. I put my head in my hands and let myself break for exactly 5 minutes. Checked my watch and everything. 5 minutes of weakness, then back out there to face everyone. Matt found me as I was coming out. You good? Yeah, I lied. He put his hand on my shoulder. Look, whatever you're feeling right now, it's valid. But I need you to understand something. What she did, that's about her, not you. Some people can't recognize good when it's right in front of them. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. Also, he added, your Aunt Linda is doing the worm on the dance floor, and it's something you absolutely need to see to believe. That got a genuine laugh out of me, and somehow that was the turning point of the night. We ended up closing down the venue. The last 20 or so guests, and I sat around a big table, sharing stories, laughing at old memories, making plans for future hangouts. It wasn't the night I'd imagined, but it wasn't the disaster it could have been either. Brittany, I had no word from her that night, or the next day, or the day after that. Complete radio silence. I went back to my apartment. Our apartment, technically, though she'd moved most of her stuff to a bridal suite at her parents' place the week before the wedding. The place felt hollow. I couldn't sleep in our bed, ended up crashing on the couch for 2 nights straight. My mom came over on day 3, took one look at me in the untouched dishes in the sink, and went into full mom mode. She opened all the windows, did my laundry, ordered takeout, and sat with me while we watched mindless action movies. She didn't try to make me talk about it, didn't offer platitudes, just kept me company. You know what the worst part is? I finally said after the 3rd movie, I still don't understand why. 4 years and she couldn't even tell me to my face. Mom just squeezed my hand. Some people aren't brave enough to face the consequences of their choices. That's not on you. Then on day 4, my phone blows up. Missed calls, voicemails, frantic texts. Adam, I made a terrible mistake. We need to talk. Please call me back. I love you. I didn't answer, but I needed answers. So I called Rachel, that mutual friend who'd gone radio silent after the wedding chaos. She picked up immediately, voice tight. Look, she said, I didn't know how to tell you, but you deserve to know everything. We met for coffee that evening. I braced myself, and she came with receipts, literal screenshots, DMS call logs. Apparently, a group of our mutual friends had found out the truth right after the wedding, and they were pissed. Not just at Brittany, but at themselves for not catching on sooner. Turns out, Brittany hadn't gotten cold feet. She'd had a whole scheme lined up with some guy named Nolan, older, flashy, always posting about his business empire and freedom lifestyle. Brittany met him at a social media marketing workshop and fell for the whole act. The plan? Marry me, gain legal access to my assets, then file for divorce 6 months in and ride the alimony train straight to influencer heaven. That's why she kept pushing for a lavish wedding, the honeymoon, the joint financial accounts. Nolan was feeding her lines about elevating her brand and securing the bag. He thought I was some silent cash cow because of the wedding budget, my job, the ring. He assumed I came from money, that Brittany would walk away from the marriage with a fat settlement and invested into their dream content empire. But when she bailed before the ceremony, the whole thing collapsed. I tracked down her roommate, someone I barely knew, but who had reached out quietly to Matt. We spoke over the phone. She confirmed what Rachel said and added this gem. Nolan ghosted Brittany the second he found out we never signed a marriage certificate. No marriage meant no assets, no alimony, no financial leverage. He literally had her moved out of the suite they were staying in and blocked her everywhere. She got kicked out of the luxury short-term rental they'd booked, and when her credit card got declined, she had to call her dad to come get her. Suitcases in hand, standing in the lobby of a boutique hotel like a failed contestant on The Bachelor. The cherry on top, Nolan had 11 girlfriends in another city. Brittany was just entertainment on the side, a pet project with no future. She didn't know that part until the girlfriend found out and messaged her screenshots of her own. So yeah, her whole master plan crashed and burned before it ever left the runway. And the only thing she got out of it was a one-way ticket back to her parents' guest room. You want to talk about karma? That's karma in designer heels with zero refund policy. So now, Brittany's desperate, and she keeps calling. I answered one of her calls about a week after the wedding. Pure morbid curiosity. Adam, oh thank God. She was already crying. Full meltdown mode. I said nothing. Just waited. I messed up so bad. She wailed. It was the stress, the pressure. Nolan meant nothing. We can still fix this. Just tell people I had a panic attack. We can reschedule. The audacity. This woman had executed a full-blown betrayal and wanted a PR spin. I kept my tone calm, steady like a surgeon, not a scratch of emotion. You texted me that you rejected me. You had your little escape route ready with another guy. There's nothing to fix, Brittany. Game over. She broke into hysterics. No, Adam, don't say that. It was a mistake. I love you. Sure, I said until your new meal ticket ditched you and the fantasy crashed. Now suddenly, I'm Prince Charming again. You don't understand. He lied to me. He promised me all these things and just abandoned me in some gross motel. I had to call my dad to come get me. I actually laughed, a low, tired laugh. That's supposed to earn you points. You picked the wrong con man, and now I'm supposed to catch you like nothing happened. I was confused. I made a mistake. Please. Then came the desperation. But where will I go? What will I do? I paused, gave her a second of silence, then delivered it straight. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. Blocked. Next morning, I get an email from her mom with the subject line, "You owe us." I should have hit delete, but I'm a sucker for delusion. They were demanding refunds for their flights, hotel stays, spa packages, dress tailoring, emotional damage, you name it. Claimed I should reimburse them for allowing the wedding to go forward when I clearly knew Brittany wasn't ready, right? Because apparently I'm psychic now. The best part, we expect full compensation within 14 days or we will be forced to take further action. I read it twice, then checked my calendar to see if it was April Fool's. It wasn't. My lawyer's reply was one sentence, no legal basis. Please stop contacting Adam. Then her dad, stone silent, my entire relationship with Brittany, suddenly grew a backbone and called me at midnight, half drunk and furious. You humiliated my daughter. You are the one who made her run from you and your boring ass. You ruined our family's name. You owe us. You'll be hearing from my lawyer. I told him, can't wait, but I'm still waiting. Over the next week, I got a flood of rage texts from numbers I didn't recognize. The best man, Matt, Brittany's sister, Casey, tried to DM him with some vague threat about exposing the truth online if I didn't do the right thing. Matt screenshotted it and posted a video of himself doing a backflip off a wave with the caption, "This you legend." But what absolutely blew my mind was that none of them ever acknowledged what Brittany actually did. Not once. In their alternate reality circus, I was the villain for telling the truth, for not funding her getaway car, for not quietly rolling over and letting their daughter wreck my life after she ditched me at the altar. Her mom even had the nerve to say it was my fault she ran. "If you'd just been a little more generous," she said in one of her unhinged emails, "maybe Brittany wouldn't have felt the need to look elsewhere. She was under a lot of pressure to live up to your standards." Right? Because not buying her a Tesla and setting up her influencer life on a silver platter is obviously what drove her to cheat, lie, and bail minutes before the ceremony. I didn't realize being financially responsible and not tossing Range Rovers around like party favors counted as emotional abuse. I swear the Olympic Committee should have handed them gold for the mental gymnastics they were pulling. A couple of days later, and true to her word, the rumor mill was in full swing, obviously fueled by Brittany and Casey. I started hearing that I was the bad guy. Apparently, I was controlling, put too much pressure on her, and my personal favorite, secretly called off the wedding myself, but framed her. The text, "Oh, that was taken out of context," or sent under duress. Some people actually bought this nonsense. Mostly her distant relatives and friends who weren't close enough to know better. A girl I barely knew from Brittany's extended circle actually messaged me. "I always knew there was something off about you. No wonder she couldn't go through with it. I didn't bother responding." What was the point? Brittany started posting these vague, cryptic captions on Instagram about escaping toxic situations and finding her worth. Started using hashtags like #survivor and #mytruthmatters as if she was the victim in all this. I didn't fight the rumors publicly, just calmly told anyone who asked directly. She texted me, "I can't marry you 5 minutes before the wedding to run off with another guy." That plan failed. These are the facts. Showed the text to a couple people who needed proof. Most people saw through her attempts to rewrite history. Meanwhile, Brittany's family kept up with their demands. Texts, emails, even a physical letter delivered to my apartment. They wanted compensation for everything. The wedding planning, emotional labor, her belongings, which I'd already shipped back, half the cash value of wedding gifts that were returned or donated. Casey even suggested I should pay for therapy for Brittany's trauma from the whole ordeal. The ordeal she caused. The entitlement was unreal. I consulted a lawyer just to cover my bases. He laughed at their demands, confirmed she had zero legal standing for anything. Sent one formal email back. Adam considers the matter closed. Brittany unilaterally terminated the relationship and wedding plans. No funds or compensation are owed. Any further demands will be treated as harassment, blocked all the new numbers and email addresses, and started thinking what I should do next. That $18,000 non-refundable Maldives' honeymoon. Brittany had been obsessed with it, picked the specific overwater bungalow, talked about it constantly for months leading up to the wedding. She'd been showing everyone the pictures. Look at that water, the private deck, the dolphins you can see from your room. The travel agent confirmed I couldn't get cash back, but I could change the second name on the reservation. Letting $18,000 just disappear felt like letting her win somehow. Plus, I'd already taken 2 weeks off work. Time I'd earned and deserved. So I called Matt. "Dude," I said, "what are you doing next week? How do you feel about surfing in the Maldives?" There was this pause on the phone. "Are you serious right now?" "Dead serious. The trip is paid for. Can't get a refund. Might as well use it." Holy heck, yes. Matt's an exposurer who now teaches lessons at a local beach. The guy practically lives in the ocean. If anyone would appreciate a tropical island getaway, it was him. 2 weeks later, we were on a first-class flight to the Maldives. We packed our surfboards and turned the whole thing into an epic surf trip. Stayed in that exact overwater bungalow Brittany had picked out, caught some incredible waves, ate amazing seafood, and just recovered. The resort staff must have known something was up. They'd been expecting a honeymooning couple and got 2 dudes with surfboards instead. But they were cooey, professional. One of the waiters at the restaurant actually pulled me aside on the third night. "Sir, if you don't mind me asking, this was meant to be a honeymoon, yes?" I nodded. He leaned in. "My wife left me 2 days before our wedding for my cousin." He tapped his chest. "It gets better. You're doing the right thing coming here anyway." That conversation, random as it was, hit me harder than almost anything else. This total stranger on the other side of the world telling me he understood there was something healing about that. We spent our days surfing at dawn when the water was glass smooth and the light was just starting to break over the horizon. There's something about the ocean that puts things in perspective. You're just this tiny speck on a board, and the water doesn't care about your problems. It just is. And you either ride it or you don't. Honestly, the trip was probably better than the actual honeymoon would have been. No drama. No complaints about me being on my phone checking work emails. No pressure to take the perfect Instagram photos. Just two dudes enjoying paradise, surfing at dawn, napping in hammocks, eating like kings. There was this moment about 5 days in. We were sitting on the deck of the bungalow, watching the sunset, cold sodas in hand. Matt looked over at me and said, "You know what's crazy? If she hadn't bailed, you'd be trapped in a marriage with someone who didn't really want you, and you'd never know how close you came to dodging that bullet." He was right. As painful as her exit was, at least it happened before we signed the legal paperwork. Before kids, before joint mortgages, before our lives were so entangled that separation would be even more catastrophic. The day before we left, I posted exactly one photo on my private Instagram. Just me and Matt, boards under our arms, grinning in front of that stunning blue water. Caption: new tides, better rides. Didn't tag anyone, didn't mention weddings or rejection. But of course, a mutual friend screenshot it and sent it straight to Brittany. Word got back that she cried for hours when she saw it. Not tears of regret, tears of entitlement. How dare I enjoy the trip she was supposed to have? I'm not going to lie, hearing that gave me a sense of satisfaction. Not because I wanted her to suffer exactly, but because it confirmed something important. She wasn't sad about losing me. She was sad about losing the lifestyle she thought I'd provide. And that made me even more certain I dodged a nuclear missile. Yeah, it's been about 4 months now. The dust has settled. The demand stopped after my lawyer's email. The smear campaign fizzled out too. Turns out, when your story is full of holes and the other person just sticks to the facts, people figure it out pretty quick. And I heard that after Nolan dumped her and she realized I wasn't taking her back, she stayed with Casey for a while. Apparently, that was a disaster. Brittany expected Casey to support her emotionally and financially. Didn't look for work, complained constantly, treated the place like a hotel. Lasted about 2 months before Casey kicked her out. Even sisterly love has its limits. According to mutual friends, living with Brittany was a nightmare. She'd sleep until noon, leave dishes everywhere, and would spend hours on her phone scrolling Instagram and crying about how her life was supposed to be so different. She'd order expensive takeout on Casey's credit card without asking borrow clothes without returning them, and have these explosive tantrums whenever Casey suggested she look for a job, or maybe, contribute to the household in some way. Eventually, Brittany ended up moving back in with her parents, found some low-level admin job, but is constantly whining on social media about being broke and how unfair everything is, how life is conspiring against her, never once acknowledging that she's the architect of her own misfortune. Her latest Instagram is full of vague quotes about rising from the ashes, and sometimes the wrong choices bring us to the right places, and other nonsense that probably makes her feel better, but isn't fooling anyone who knows what really happened. The victim narrative is strong with that one. Zero accountability, zero remorse, just bitterness that her grand plan failed. As for me, I'm doing good. Really good, actually. The initial weeks were rough. Not going to lie. Felt like a chump. Heartbroken, angry, but that dodged a bullet party, as weird as it was, set the tone. My friends and family had my back. Going on that honeymoon trip with Matt was the best decision. It was a clean break, a way to reclaim something positive from the wreckage. Financially, yeah, I took a hit. That $60,000 plus for the wedding and honeymoon is gone forever. But it's just money. What I gained back was my self-respect and freedom from someone who saw me as nothing but a wallet and stepping stone to the Instagram life she thought she deserved. I didn't lose anything that actually mattered. I lost someone who thought my hard work was just a path to someone else's fantasy. I lost a family who saw me as an ATM, not a person. I lost the burden of trying to build a future with someone who didn't respect what it takes to build anything real. Some of my buddies have tried to set me up on dates, but I'm not there yet. Maybe in a few more months. Right now, I'm focused on rebuilding, on creating a life I'm proud of, regardless of who shares it with me. To anyone reading this who's going through something similar, hang in there. The pain is real, but it doesn't last forever. And sometimes what feels like rejection is actually protection.